And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. 2 Timothy 2:2. Jesus Christ gave the Great Commission to reach the lost world and ordained the local church as the vehicle to teach Christians how to go out and to repeat the process. But let me stop and ask, how are we doing when it comes to planting and replanting solid Bible-preaching churches that can reproduce themselves for the gospel's sake? This year alone, 5,000 churches will close their doors, leaving one Bible-preaching church for every 50,000 people. Many cities are without a single gospel witness, and even more urban area churches can't adequately handle the rising population. These aren't statistics from a foreign country or some remote region. These are in America today. I'm Jimmy, and we're the Jackson family, church planters to Cape Girardeau, Missouri, sent out of New Manna Baptist Church in Marion, North Carolina. My Christian story began in 1999 when a local church obeyed the Great Commission and reached me at 17 years old with a clear presentation of the gospel, and I received Christ as my Savior. The Lord called me to preach that year that I trusted Him, and in the years of ministry preparation that came, I began to be more and more aware of the need for young Christians to pick up the mantle where the previous generation had come before us. Through this training, I was challenged to research the need for churches in the U.S., and that project led me to Cape Girardeau, Missouri in 2014. You see, I'd love to tell you that I submitted and I went to Cape to plant a church, but I didn't. I was serving the Lord in a great church, surrounded by friends and family, so I made up excuses not to serve the Lord where He'd called me. In October of 2023, I repented, stopped running from the clear call of God on my life, and I began deputation. The Lord called me, and I submitted 10 years late. From when the Lord called me till I repented, on average, 860 people have died in Cape annually. How many of those slipped off into eternity without having a local church come find them with the gospel like I was found, like how you were found? I can trace every good work of God in my life back to the local church. It's where I got saved. It's where I learned to love souls, to be a witness, to grow in grace. It's where I met my wife. It's where I was called to preach. But what if I lived in an area that had far too few churches and not enough soul winners to come find me? In the last decade alone, more people in the United States have become churchless than live in Australia or Canada. The total number of unchurched people in the U.S., if they were a nation, would be the 8th largest nation in the world. Who's reaching the world if local churches aren't planting new local churches? There is currently only one independent Baptist congregation remaining in this city that sees over 100,000 people come into it daily. Where many churches used to shoulder this burden, only one lighthouse remains.
It is my privilege to recommend to you Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Jackson as missionary church planters. It has long been the burden of my heart that our church would reproduce itself in other church plants. So you can imagine how excited I was when Brother Jimmy approached me with this particular call and burden on his heart from the Lord. Brother Jimmy and Miss Samantha and their family have been with us at the church for several years. In that time, they have served faithfully, and I've been blessed to watch the passion with which they have went after souls, particularly in the bus ministry, as they have gone out week after week to try and tell people about the gospel and get them into church. When he approached me about this burden, I was reminded again of all that experience and thought about how that and the other experiences they have from the ministries they were in before coming to us, and how that God had probably used all of that to prepare them perfectly for this new endeavor that God has placed on their heart. I believe that God is going to build a church in Cape Girardeau, Missouri with the Jackson family. With all that being said, I hope that you would consider supporting the Jackson family prayerfully and financially. I say that because I know the passion in their heart is to get there as quick as they can and begin to tell people in Cape Girardeau about Jesus. If there are any more questions that we can help you with, I want to encourage you to call us. We're the New Manna Baptist Church in Marion, North Carolina, and we'd be honored to talk to you about this. Thank you so much for your consideration, and God bless you.
Our short-term goal is to plant and pastor an old-fashioned, Bible-preaching, King James-only Baptist church, to reach the city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri with a bold outreach campaign, bring the gospel into every household, and to continue to grow through faithful preaching of the Word, fervent soul winning, and personal discipleship with all who have faithfully gathered with us. Our long-term goal is to train up people to go out and to plant and to replant independent Baptist churches and to encourage and support church planters both nationally and internationally. Would you consider partnering with us as your church planter to Missouri and help us replant Bible-preaching churches in this great nation that we call home?
How can we reach a world we never touched?